Welcome back. In this module, we are going to get dirty in data, and we're going to learn how to work with string data. The outline that I have prepared for you, this is going to be a doozy, and I'm really sorry in advance. So first, we're starting off with dirty data. This lesson will take about 11 minutes. We'll explain what dirty data is, and this is, spoiler alert, about 80% of your job as a data analyst. So that's why this one is just like extra super packed, and I just felt like it was super important. So I'm sorry that I couldn't keep it to the 30-minute time budget. Our cleaning example is about 30 minutes. So if you want to spread this out over 2 days, I totally understand. I might have done that myself if I was learning. So it'll take us 27 minutes, and then we'll just wrap up with a quick your string tool belt, which is almost an exact mirror to what we did with the math functions. So let's get right into it. What is data cleaning? Data cleaning, also known as data cleansing or scrubbing, is the process of modifying, removing data that's inaccurate, duplicate, incomplete, incorrectly formatted, or corrupted within a data set, according to HubSpot. And I like this definition. As someone who feels like a professional data cleaner, I would say that this feels very accurate to what I've experienced in the field. And we've already seen with our taxi cab data a lot of things where you're like, that doesn't really make sense. Why is someone tipping $10,000? Why did someone have a trip that was 0 miles? So you can imagine how quickly you can have inaccurate or wrong data that needs to either be removed, modified, or adjusted. Data cleaning is not easy. According to Career Foundry, this is a very complex process, and it's not quick or a manual task. So what do you mean by manual? You're like, well, if I find a bad data row, I make an adjustment to it. If you have 1 million rows, you cannot by hand go through each one and make an adjustment. So when you're working with big data and you're doing data cleaning, you have to find creative ways on how can I make really quick rules or adjustments or heuristics so that I can clean my data efficiently. And when it comes to data cleaning, there is no one size fits all. This is very much you are given a problem, you need to figure out how to solve it. It's something that can't be taught how to do every single scenario. We're going to give you some of the basic tools, but it's going to take your critical thinking and your creativity on how am I going to tackle this problem. Data cleaning is a huge component of your day-to-day job. According to Medium, data engineers or data scientists find that they spend 80% of their time cleaning data. And you're like, what? 80% of your time? That means you only spend 20% actually doing any analysis or data modeling. I have another estimate from LinkedIn that says not quite 80%, but about 60% of your data analysis is in data cleaning. And we have a little pie graph of what data scientists spend most of their time doing. And you see this big green chunk that is cleaning and organizing your data. Depending on what company you work for, the type of data that you have, maybe they have some really good rules. I would say between the 60 to 80% is a very realistic number. Why do people spend so much time cleaning the data? Because the data is that bad. Swear. Anywhere you go, any company that you work with, you're like, this is insane. And you feel like, how can my company have such bad, crummy data? Well, I'll tell you, this is something that's industry-wide, and I think a big part of it is that a lot of times people are gathering and collecting data, and they don't know how they're going to use it initially. They're just gathering whatever they can, and a lot of times these things just kind of start growing organically without a plan from the beginning. And when you don't have a plan from the beginning, then you start getting all these crazy things. You start allowing some bad data to come in. Maybe you have a lot of things where people have to punch it in and they're manually typing and they get typos. There's so many reasons why you have bad data. But data cleaning, if you want a job as a data analyst, this is like the number one skill that you want to be really good at. Why are we pairing strings with our dirty data? Strings tend to be, in my opinion, the dirtiest of all data types. String, just to remind you, that's text data. And text data has a tendency to be dirty because a lot of times a string is something that maybe the very beginning part of the data collection is someone manually typing something in. So someone types in their email, Maybe they put in a typo. Someone puts in their birth date and they flip around the numbers or they transpose it. Anything where you're having someone type something in manually, you have a really high chance for it to not work out right. Here are some examples of what we might like to do with strings to clean it up or modify it. We might want to change it to a number. So suppose someone has, in the data set, decided that age is, they say age is not a number, it is a string. And you want to actually do math on the age. You want to find what is the average age of the people in this data set. You can't do that with strings. So you're going to have to convert it into a number. So sometimes how the data has been set up is wrong and we need to change the data type. Sometimes we want to combine strings together. Maybe instead of having a column that says first name, last name, we want to stick it together so that we can have one column that makes every row unique. Maybe we only want to keep part of the string. Maybe we have a bunch of cities and it says Atlanta City, Atlanta Municipality, Greater Atlanta, and we just want to keep the Atlanta component. So maybe we want to strip out some on the left or some on the right, or maybe we just want to pull out a keyword. So maybe that might be something that we want to do. We might also want to filter data based on the string. And that can be a little tricky because suppose I want to find all rows that say Atlanta. Well, some people typed in Atlanta all caps. Some people did lowercase. Some people did proper case. Someone misspelled it. How are you going to create a filter that's going to capture every single type of scenario that has Atlanta in it? We might want to change something from uppercase to lowercase. So this kind of goes in with the previous point. Maybe I want to search for Florida, but I know that some people do it uppercase and lowercase and all in between. And so I say, I just want to make this whole column, I want to make it all uppercase just to make it uniform and I don't have to worry about that. And this is a big one that I deal with a lot in forecasting is needing to add leading zeros to things. So sometimes people will put a zip code in the data as a number instead of a string. While a zip code is technically a number, typically we use it as something that creates categories or buckets. It's not something that we want to add or divide. And we want to keep the leading zero in there because suppose we want to pull in other data and that data has a leading zero. And so maybe we need to modify our table so that it matches other tables. So maybe we need to do something like that. And this is a sneak one. And if you've ever worked in Excel and you've tried to do something and it's not working quite right, and then you find out there's a hidden space, that is something that is very difficult to debug on just looking at it with your eyes. So suppose we have this cat here and it has a space in front and a space in the back. And I want to find everything that says cat, but I didn't include the space in the front or the back. It's not going to pull this guy. So I need to find a way to remove any of those hidden spaces that I can't see with my eyes, but the computer knows is there. To wrap up this lesson, we've learned what data cleaning is, and now we know that strings are the most common offenders. In our next lesson, we're going to go over a couple different examples, similar to like we did in the previous module, but with strings and how we can do all those different types of scenarios that we described. See you then. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I would be so appreciative if you could like the video and subscribe to help me create more content for you. Thank you.